Hello, my name's John Sluter, and this is the first segment. I hope that dog doesn't bark a whole lot. This is the first segment of what I expect to be a series on the subject of crimes against peace officers. I'm a criminal defense attorney in California, and I have some experience with these. Thought some people would like to have the ability to look up on YouTube something about this in case somebody they know has been charged, or in fact whether they've been charged. Anyway, when we're talking about crimes against peace officers, what we're basically talking about is Penal Code Section 148, resisting, delaying, or obstructing an officer, or Penal Code Section 243B, and that's battery against a peace officer, hitting him, touching him rudely, shoving him, or Penal Code Section 69, and that's resisting an executive officer, that means police officer, by force or violence, or making a threat against him to try to deter him from doing his duty. So, and this first segment is basically just sort of an introduction. How do people get arrested for this? How do these things come about? And it wouldn't be honest if I didn't say that some people deserve to get arrested. They shove an officer when they shouldn't shove an officer, or they get an order from an officer and that's a lawful order and they don't obey it, or they make a threat against an officer to keep the officer from doing his duty. I mean, that happens, it happens. So some people get arrested and they should get arrested and they should probably plead guilty. But that's not always the case, and sometimes it's not the case, and more often than you'd really expect. So let's talk about ways in which you can get arrested for that and shouldn't have gotten arrested for it. Let's talk about the three bads. And the first bad is the bad day. Let's just say an officer is just in a terrible mood because things haven't been going right. His girlfriend yelled at him, or his dog bit a neighbor, or he's just in a bad mood. Maybe he's hungover. And something sets him off. Something that he really hates. Maybe he's writing a ticket and he feels that somebody drove by on their off-road vehicle going too fast and accelerating as he goes past, and he just figures that was disrespecting me, and you don't disrespect me when I'm having a bad day. So he stops writing the ticket and he pursues the guy on the off-road vehicle and catches him. The guy pulls over and he gets off his off-road vehicle and he pulls off his helmet and bang! The officer hits him in the eye socket with his PR-24. That's a club sort of a thing. Or his ass, which is even more dangerous. And fractures the guy's eye socket. Well, the guy didn't do anything. The officer really shouldn't have hit him in the face with his ass. And so the officer's going to think, geez, I'm about to get sued. So over the years, the officers who are inclined to do these things have sort of gotten a little toolkit. One of those things in their toolkit is the Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, called Heck versus Humphreys. And what Heck versus Humphreys says is that in a civil rights case, you can't do something that would contradict the outcome of a state court case. And what that basically means is that if you were found guilty of something in the state court, you can't say that you were wrongfully arrested, right? Because that would contradict the outcome of the state court case. So even if you plead guilty to disturbing the peace as an infraction, just a little thing, well, there's a reason to arrest you, so you can't sue for false arrest. Or if the officer, just for the sake of his bad day, hits you in the eye socket with his ass, well, that means you plead guilty to 69 PC, Penal Code cases, resisting an officer with force or violence. Sometimes there are ways to get around it, but you're basically admitting that the officer was in the lawful performance of his duty, so Obviously, hitting somebody for no reason is not the lawful performance of the duty, so you basically got yourself out of the ability to sue the officer, even though it all started because he had a bad day. Used to be that that's the kind of thing that would happen to the people with the tattoos on their neck, sort of like the gangbangers, The officers felt, well, I can do this to a gangbanger, and the gangbanger can come into court all he wants and say, I didn't do anything, really. This officer just was having a bad day, and then he arrested me for no reason. And then so the jury's going to look at the gangbanger, the jury's going to look at this officer, and they're going to say, yeah, and I hope the judge gives you about 6 months or a year in jail to think about being more respectful to the officers, not charging him from your off-road vehicle like the officer says you did. And why would the officer lie? He's a professional. Okay, but as time goes by, it's no longer the folks with the tattoos on their neck that are getting these charges. Nowadays, it's folks that look like me, folks that look like you. I don't know what you look like, but trust me, it could be somebody who looks like you. And that's true whether you're 75 years old and a gray beard. So that's one of the reasons people sometimes get these cases, and they shouldn't. The officer's having a bad day, and he gets out of control, and it's either you go to jail or he gets sued, and he doesn't want to get sued. And Heck versus Humphreys, Supreme Court case, tells him what to do. Bad training, that's another bad. That can end up with somebody who shouldn't get arrested for a crime against a peace officer getting arrested for a crime against a peace officer. And what that means is that an officer does something and gets in over his head. Like he'll go to somebody's house because a neighbor's complained about a young woman who lives there, and the old man, the old dude, the woman's father answers the door, and the officer says, "Go get your daughter. I need to talk to her." And you know what? 99 out of 100 times, the old guy is going to say, "Well, this officer wants me to get my daughter. I guess I better." So he's going to get his daughter, and then the daughter's going to get in trouble or not, but the old man isn't. But let's just say that the old man isn't just an old man. Let's just say I'm not saying this necessarily happened, a former deputy sheriff, retired. And he knows that the officer can't come to his house and start ordering him to get people to come to the front door. So he says, no. Well, all of a sudden the officer is sort of like feeling uneasy because he's used to people just following his orders. And all of a sudden here's this guy saying no with some authority in his voice, and he's sort of uneasy and uncomfortable, and he doesn't know what to do. The right thing to do would be to say, okay, well, then here's my card. I'm going to come back with an arrest warrant or whatever. Maybe, if it's nothing real serious, he should just forget about it and just hope it doesn't. Tell the next door neighbor to call if there's more problems. I don't know. But the one thing he shouldn't do is arrest a guy for obstructing, resisting, and delaying an officer. But he might. Trust me, he might. And so, because the officer really doesn't know what he should be doing, he doesn't know that he hasn't been trained adequately to know that he just can't make the order that he made, but he made it, and then he's in over his head because the guy says no, and he's not used to that. Then the old man gets arrested. Or, let's just say, there's some complaint of something happening, but everything's quiet, and the officers tell a guy's wife, well, we want to go in and talk to your husband. So they go in, and the husband tells them, go away, get out of here. Well, there's not a whole lot of law on that subject, but I'm pretty sure that, based upon the research I've done, that a man's home is still his castle, and when a man's wife lets the officers into the castle, they don't become the king of the castle. But If the officers don't know that, and they might not, then they're going to say, well, this guy's giving us some guff, so he gets arrested. Okay, well, that's bad training. They should have known better.